Hey, maybe you've been seeing all the craziness around Instagram follower funnels. Well, let me tell you something. They do work. They absolutely do. But that's the problem. See, they can get you hooked really fast. And unless you grow fast enough to sustain a business without them and do it before the follower funnels stop working, well, you're in pretty big trouble. Now, most coaches using them, they just don't see that trap until it's way too late. So let's talk about what nobody is saying out loud. Okay, first, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. Let me just grab my iPad real quick here and see if we can go over this real quick. All right, what is a follower funnel and what do I mean by that? It's pretty simple. You're running an ad to an Instagram post or a reel and you're optimizing for profile visits. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. You can do this through the ads manager, through the business suite, or you can do it through the Instagram app. All these work. The difference is when you do it through the ads manager, you're going to get a lot more options of targeting and stuff. So I highly suggest you learn how to use the ads manager to do this. And if you want me to create a video on how to do all this, let me know and I will. All right. So what happens then? So now you're getting people to visit your profiles, and a percentage of those people who visit your profiles will become followers. Your goal to get followers for under $2. Okay. You're trying to get them for less than $2. And it does vary quite a bit, depending on what niche you're in, because some niches are going to be a lot higher, some are going to be lower, and it just depends on what you're doing. But in general, $2 is going to work if you have at least a $2,000 offer. If your offer is, let's just say, $1,000, that may not work. It just depends on how your conversion rates are. So you got to be careful with that. So, what happens when they follow you, or what's the purpose of this? Well, the purpose of this is to help them get to know you, right? They're becoming acquainted with you, and they're building a connection with you, and you're not asking them for anything, and they understand a little bit about you and your philosophy. Those are the types of things that we're trying to get in front of them so that they want to follow you. Because the people who don't agree with that philosophy, well, we don't want them to follow you, right? So that's how that works. But what do you do next? Well, the next step is, let's see if we can do this again. So the next step after they follow is you're going to run retargeting ads to ask them to DM you. Okay, either DM or comment. Now, I should say something first. One thing that's kind of important is that on the initial follower ads that I was talking about, let's just see if we can go back to that real quick here, if I can figure out how to do that. Those initial follower ads, one thing you want to do is when somebody follows, you want to have a mini chat automation welcoming them and bringing them into your world more. Okay, so you don't want to go in for the direct message right at that point necessarily. You want to build some trust there. But you do want to acknowledge that they took the next step. All right. So that being said, once you've done that, then again, you're going to start retargeting people to follow you. I'm sorry, retargeting people to DM you. They might DM you keyword blah, 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 heal, ready. Whatever keyword you want. Just don't make it complicated and don't make it long. Then you're just trying to get them into any kind of conversation. Okay. Again, you're not trying to go in straight for book a call. You just want to get them into a conversation so that you can talk back and forth. Ultimately, what you're trying to get them to do is give you what we call a love letter. And a love letter just means that they write a big, long response. That's it. That's a love letter. That means they're buying into you. They feel good enough to tell you this stuff, and you know that they're ready for the next step. Now, not everybody's going to go in that way and work that way, but in general, love letter is how it works. Once they do that, then you invite them to book a call. Okay. You don't position it as necessarily a sales call because it's not. You're trying to evaluate them. It's a clarity call so they can get clarity around what's going on. What's going on that they need to talk to somebody about this at all. That's what it's about. Now, you can do what we call a triage call, which is a short call, like 15 minutes, where you can just kind of do a basic evaluation. Or you can go ahead and go into your longer call, 45 minutes or whatever it is. Okay. Triage call, the goal there is just to kind of evaluate them, see what kind of a good fit they are, and then book them into the longer call. All right. That's how it works. That's what the follower funnels are. It's not really any more complicated than that. Now, the setup might be a little complicated for you, especially if you're not used to it, but don't sweat it. Okay. Now, here's what's funny. This right here, this funnel, there's nothing new. This is not something new. It didn't, I mean, these type of funnels have been going on almost since Facebook ads started. I mean, we were running them many years ago. They were just something different. There were all kinds of different names for them. There were Hydra ads. This is before Instagram. There was all kinds of stuff. But this is what's going on now, and yes, it is effective. But the reason I'm making this video is because, well, there's a problem there. See, these build connection really fast, and they feel really personal, and they can get quick sales. Plus, you get a decent amount of followers with them pretty cheap most of the time. And the thing is that what happens is often, or not for everybody, but sometimes your organic reach drops. And for some people, it drops hard. So now you're kind of relying on ads. Now your content doesn't go anywhere unless you pay, right? So now you've got to run more ads. So you're kind of in that cycle. And once you're there, it's really, really hard to get out of it. So the other thing that happens is coaches tend to get lazy. Now, I'm not bashing coaches by any means. We all do this, right? We find something that works and we keep leaning into it. So we kind of let other things go. I get it. I've done it too. I'm there. Nevertheless, coaches get lazy. They get lazy on their organic content. They either don't put it out as much, it's not as compelling, it's not really inviting to the audience like it used to be, whatever. It's just not as good. So they just get lazy with it and rely on ads. Now, they're kind of dependent on it, and you cannot do that. But lastly, and maybe in my opinion, the most important thing is you're not building an asset. See, getting followers, that's not an asset. Instagram giveth, Instagram can taketh away, right? They can shut down accounts. I see it all the time. They shut down accounts for no reason whatsoever, and people are thinking, oh, what did I do? See, right now, today, in today's world, they're very lax on the content you can post, but they didn't always used to be that way, right? You couldn't post all these crazy things, but now they are. Well, guess what? That's going to come back around. Sooner or later, they're going to get more strict, and if you're not ready for it, you're going to be in trouble. So the biggest thing that worries me is when you're doing this funnel is most people forget about building their email list. Either they think their email list isn't valuable enough to build, they didn't budget for it, or they think emails don't work or something crazy like that, but they absolutely do. The thing is emails are yours. Instagram can't take that away. So if you're not building your email list, what you're doing, you're just doing followers. It's called a depreciating asset. It really is, because it really can lose value over time, because sooner or later it's not going to work. And it's not a strategy, it's a tactic. This should just be one of the tactics you use, not your overall strategy. So let me just tell you this, what happened to me years ago. I had a really successful business, I mean, big. And we were reliant on one particular strategy to bring in clients. And I used it over and over. And I didn't think about that ending. I just didn't think that was going to happen, or at least not in the way that it did. And literally one night, or actually one day, I came into work and it was over. The strategy, the tactic that we were using was gone. You couldn't use it anymore. It wasn't going to work anymore because of regulation changes. And that's the thing that people don't think about. Most of this is not an offense to any coach out there. Most coaches out there have never run more than one business if they're running one now. And so they haven't had that experience of what happens when the business tanks. And that's a problem because sooner or later it will. And it's just a race. It's a race whether or not you can build your business fast enough, like I said before, to sustain it on its own before that happens. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know what kind of rules and regulations Meta's going to put in place. You don't know what the government's going to do, whether that's the federal government, state government, it doesn't really matter. All these things can change. The marketplace can change. Some other new technology can come out and change everything. You just don't know. And all you're trying to do is hedge your bets. And when you don't build your email list, you didn't hedge your bet. So that's enough preaching on that. I just kind of wanted to make it real for you. This can happen. It happened to me, and I literally lost that business overnight. It was a bummer, let me tell you. So the thing is that seven-figure coaches, they don't rely on one channel or one tactic. They build a business that can sustain losing one of its marketing tactics. And that's what you have to do. They feed their email list, okay? So they might be running these follower funnels, but then they're also inviting people to their webinars to opt in. They're supporting it with other things. They're inviting people to their Facebook group. They're following up with people. They don't just let one thing and let it ride and kind of exist on that high of things, if that makes any sense at all. So if Instagram disappeared tomorrow for them, they'd still have a business, right? They'd still have traffic. They'd still have conversations. They would still have sales. And that's the difference between them and most other coaches. So what do? First, you run it with intention. In other words, if you're doing Instagram follower funnels, you got to do it with intention. You budget for getting people on your email list. So you have to hold back money just to do that. Then you focus on engaging your email list. You can't just build it without talking to everybody. Most people aren't going to open up the emails. You know that. So if you got a 30% open rate, if you do, which would be amazing, but it might not even be that high, you've got to make sure you're giving them engaging content. That's a whole other video, okay? But you've also got to promote your list and keep building it. Don't get lazy, right? Don't get, where you're just complacent and think everything's going to just keep running the way it is, because it never does. All right. If this made you rethink how you're using Instagram, the next thing you need to understand is how seven-figure coaches actually build systems that don't collapse when one channel slows down. And that's exactly what I break down on my video, of what seven-figure coaches do differently.